Welcome to Grace Mitchell Stories, where every tale carries a spark of humanity, kindness, and courage. If you've ever wondered how strangers can change a life in the blink of an eye, this story will stay with you. The night began like so many others at Rosie's Diner, a weathered little place perched on the edge of Highway 47. The neon sign out front flickered in weary blues and pinks, casting a sleepy glow across the empty parking lot. Inside, the smell of fresh coffee mingled with the buttery sweetness of pancakes, filling the air like a warm blanket against the cold night. It was the kind of diner that never slept. Long-haul truckers nursed steaming mugs in the corner booths, a family of four shared fries at the window table, their children's laughter cutting through the low hum of the jukebox. A young couple whispered across a milkshake with 2 straws, their heads bent close together as if the world beyond them didn't exist. Behind the counter, moving quietly but steadily, was Lily. She was only 20, but life had already taught her the weight of responsibility. Her uniform was neat though faded, the name tag polished even if her sneakers had long since lost their shine. She had learned how to smile through exhaustion, how to carry trays heavier than she looked, how to offer kindness even when none was offered to her. For Lily, every dollar mattered. Her younger sister Hannah was still in college, and Lily had promised their late mother that she'd look after her. Rent, tuition, bills, they all piled high, but Lily carried them without complaint. The diner wasn't glamorous, but it was steady, and in its own way, she had grown to love it. That night, though, would test her in ways she never imagined. The bell above the diner's door jingled, and in walked a man who didn't belong. His suit was sharp, tailored to perfection, his shoes gleaming under the diner's dim lights. His cologne hung in the air, too rich and overpowering for this place of truckers and farmers. He walked with a swagger, the kind of arrogance that filled every room before he even spoke. He dropped into a booth with a huff, snapping his fingers at Lily before she had even approached. "Coffee? Black. And make it quick," he barked, not bothering to look at her face. Lily kept her smile, though it faltered at the edges. "Of course, sir, right away." She poured his coffee, set it gently on the table. He didn't thank her. Instead, he waved at the menu. "Steak? Medium rare. Don't screw it up." She nodded and walked back to the kitchen, ignoring the prick of irritation in her chest. She had dealt with rude customers before. She told herself it would pass. But as the minutes ticked by, the man grew restless. He tapped his fingers against the table, muttering under his breath. When Lily finally returned with his plate, carefully balancing it, he snatched the fork and jabbed at the meat. "This," he said loudly, so that half the diner turned to look, "is overcooked. Do you people even know what medium rare means?" Lily clasped her hands in front of her apron. "I'm so sorry. Let me take it back." He cut her off, his voice rising. "You think sorry fixes everything? Do you even know how to do your job?" The diner went quiet. The young couple stopped whispering. The truckers exchanged wary glances, but no one moved. Lily swallowed, her voice steady despite the lump in her throat. "I'll replace it for you, sir. Please, give me just a moment." But before she could reach for the plate, the man's temper boiled over. He stood abruptly, his chair screeching against the tile, and then, with a motion so fast it left Lily stunned, he slapped her. The sound cracked like a whip in the silent diner. Lily staggered, her hand flying to her cheek. Heat spread across her face, her eyes burning with unshed tears. She drew in a shaky breath, fighting to stay upright, to keep her dignity even as humiliation coursed through her. The man straightened his tie, his voice dripping with disdain. "Pathetic," he muttered, turning back toward his booth. The silence was suffocating. No one knew what to do, and then the bell above the door jingled again. Boots hit the floor. One pair, then another, then another. The low rumble of motorcycles outside still echoed faintly as the door swung wide, letting in a flood of leather jackets, helmets tucked under arms, chains clinking softly with every step. One biker, then 5, then 10, then 20, until the diner, small and narrow, seemed to overflow with their presence. By the time the last man entered, there must have been 50 of them. The rude customer froze, his arrogance faltering for the first time. At the head of the group stood a man taller than most, his beard streaked with gray, his jacket patched with the insignia of a riding club. His eyes, sharp and steady, swept across the diner. He saw the frozen faces of the patrons, the way Lily still clutched her cheek. The man in the suit standing smugly by his booth, his jaw tightened. His boots echoed as he stepped forward. "Everything all right here?" His voice was deep, calm, but it carried the weight of command. No one answered. The man in the suit cleared his throat. "Just dinner," he said, his bravado wavering. The biker leader's gaze didn't leave Lily. Miss, he asked gently. Are you all right? Her lips trembled. She nodded faintly, though her cheeks still burned. The leader's expression darkened. He turned back to the man in the suit. His voice dropped lower, dangerous in its calm. You hit her? The man scoffed, though his eyes flicked nervously to the group behind him. Mind your own business. The bikers shifted as one, the sound of leather creaking and boots scuffing against tile like a storm gathering strength. The leader stepped closer, towering over the suited man. We don't sit quiet when a man lays hands on a woman. Not in here. Not anywhere. The man's face flushed. He laughed, brittle and forced. You don't scare me. I'll call the police. One of the bikers chuckled from the back, his voice rough with amusement. Do it. We'll wait. The customer's hands fidgeted with his napkin. He glanced toward the exit, calculating, but the leader blocked his way. Apologize. The leader said simply. The man blinked. What? You heard me? Apologize to her, right now. The diner held its breath. The man's jaw clenched. His arrogance wavered under the weight of 50 unblinking stares. Beads of sweat formed at his temple. His lips parted, closed, opened again. Finally, in a voice stripped of all the venom it once carried, he stammered, I'm sorry. The leader tilted his head, louder. The man swallowed hard. He turned to Lily, his voice breaking. I'm sorry. Lily stared at him, stunned. Her cheeks still burned, but her dignity stood taller than his apology. She nodded once, not for him, but for herself. The leader gave a curt nod. Now get out. The man didn't argue. He snatched his coat, his footsteps quick and uneven as he fled through the door. The bell jingled behind him, the sound oddly triumphant this time. For a moment, the diner was silent again. Then the bikers began to move, not toward confrontation, but toward the booths. Let's eat, the leader said simply. And just like that, the tension broke. The bikers filled the diner with laughter, loud voices, the clatter of plates. They ordered stacks of pancakes, mountains of burgers, endless cups of coffee. Rosie, the owner, bustled out of the kitchen, her eyes wide at the sudden rush of customers. Lily moved through the tables, her hands still trembling, but steadied by the protective presence that surrounded her. Each biker spoke to her with respect. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. You're doing a great job. Words she hadn't expected, but ones that stitched her heart back together, piece by piece. Hours later, as the night deepened and the bikers began to leave, Lily walked behind the counter to tally the bills. Her eyes widened. The counter was covered in tips. Tens, 20s, 50s, even hundreds, scattered across the register like fallen leaves. Enough to cover months of rent. Enough to ease the burden she carried on her thin shoulders. Her hands shook as she gathered them, tears finally spilling free. The leader paused at the door, his helmet tucked under his arm. He looked back at her, his expression softer than before. Don't ever forget tonight, he said. You deserve respect. Don't let anyone make you believe otherwise. And then they were gone, the roar of their motorcycles fading into the distance, leaving the diner quiet once more. That night, as Lily walked home beneath the glow of street lamps, she thought of what had happened. The slap still stung, but what she remembered most wasn't the pain. It was the way 50 strangers had walked in and stood by her side without hesitation. She realized something then. Family isn't always blood. Sometimes, it's who walks through the door when you need them most. And sometimes, strength doesn't look like power or money or sharp suits. Sometimes, it looks like a group of leather-clad bikers, reminding a young waitress of her worth. Because true strength isn't in cruelty. True strength is in standing up for those who cannot stand alone. So the next time you see someone being treated unfairly, ask yourself, will you stay silent or will you stand? If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and leave a comment with your thoughts. And don't forget to subscribe to Grace Mitchell Stories because together, we can keep spreading tales that prove kindness is never wasted.